I want to take a break from fiction for a second and talk specifically to the nonfiction writers out there. I know it probably seems difficult just starting out, figuring out what social media content you're going to create, but I think it's actually a bit easier for nonfiction writers than it is for fiction writers. And the reason is because as a nonfiction writer, you are narrowed in and you are focused in on a particular niche. And whatever your area of expertise is, whatever your specialty is, you can post anything related to or tangential to that particular topic. So, for example, if your book is about a particular animal, there's so much information out there about animals in general and that specific animal. Even if you're writing a book about the rarest, most unique animal or bacteria, say, in the world that nobody really knows anything about, you can still post plenty of content about other types of bacteria, about other animals, about biology in general, about science. You can post about your education. You can post about things that you've done in the past, classes you've taken. You can post about experiments that you've done. Literally anything from your field, anything that you know is relevant and going to be interesting to your audience, most likely. If your book is self-help, for example, every single chapter that you wrote in that book has content in it that you could potentially share on your social media. Now, obviously, you don't want to give everything away, certainly, but there is a difference between a few short snippets of social media content and the whole book. The whole book is a very different product that if you share helpful pieces from it, people are more likely to go and actually buy that book. The other thing to keep in mind is that social media is essentially short snippets of content spread out over a great amount of time. And so it's unlikely that any one person is going to see all of your content in a row. So even if you did end up posting most of your social media content on Facebook or Instagram or whatever your preferred platform is, the chances of one person seeing all of it and being like, oh, well, I guess I don't need to read the book now is very, very low. I also recommend, I'm guessing you already do this if you're an expert in your field, but definitely look up experts in the field and share their content as well, because it adds credibility to you. It says, I know who else is talking about these things, and I am one of them, so to speak. Also, memoir, quickly. Memoir is a sort of weird in-between creative and, more technical types of writing. But memoir, I think, can be just as simple as nonfiction if you step back a little and you start thinking about what are some of the major themes and concepts that I am sharing in the book. So, for example, if your memoir is about traveling across the country on a road trip, for example, you can post all kinds of content about the places you visited, the places you didn't visit that you wished you'd visited. You can post photos, you can post your own experiences, you can invite other people to share their experiences going to these places and doing these kinds of things. Perhaps, there are some underlying themes about friendship or family, and you can always talk about those. Tons of articles on psychology and other resources that you can pull in to garner interest in your actual memoir and your actual story. Children's books, on the other hand, are a little bit tricky when it comes to social media marketing. And the reason is because the content of the books is actually directed at children, where the person who's buying the book is probably the parent or the grandparent or teacher. Basically, an adult is going to be buying the book while the kid is going to be enjoying the book. And so it makes it a little tricky. Not to mention, kids don't really hang out on social media. Kids aren't allowed. It's 18 plus. And while there might be a few here and there, it's probably not the best choice to specifically and explicitly be targeting children. You should really be focused on their parents. So as you're going about your social media marketing, you need to say to yourself, where are the parents hanging out? Where are the teachers hanging out? And how can I get my work in front of them? In the same way, you need to ask yourself, not what is the value proposition for the children, what is the value proposition for the parent? And that might be a little bit different. Kids focus on different things, they want different things, and they need different things. Adults want something else. So think about your work and think about your brand from the perspective of what would the parents hope their kid was going to get out of this book. If you really want to create kid-friendly social media content, I guess I have two basic pieces of advice. The first is to create a kid-safe place where you can direct traffic to. So this could just be your website. You could have a website where you write blogs that are aimed at kids that have like how-to information. I know of artists who like to do kid-friendly, like how to draw this and how to draw that, or how to make this type of content on their website. You could do something like that depending on what your book was about and what the purpose of the book was. Or if you really wanted a social media network specifically, I think YouTube is your best option. YouTube has a bunch of restrictions and rules put in place to keep kids safe. So you can create a kid-friendly YouTube video, put it on YouTube, and create a kid-friendly channel. And hopefully kids will be coming to your channel because it'll be listed under the kids section of YouTube. So if you really want to interact with kids specifically, YouTube is probably your best shot. But ultimately, I would say if you're really trying to sell something, if you're trying to sell books, you need to interact with the parents. You need to interact with the grandparents or the teachers. And you need to think about your product from their perspective, not from the perspective of the person reading it.